Let's see. Sound? Yes. Yes. Good. I gotta check every time now. Okay. Let's get started. Why did I even align that when I'm about to ruin it anyways? And I hit the wrong option. I hit organize items. Okay, let's look. I have lots more eggs. I have 14 more boxes. With at least, 7 of them walked. I think I actually walked up to like 12 boxes. So my brother-in-law just came over, not even 5 minutes ago. He came over for dinner. He gets off work late, so whenever I don't know, every now and then after he gets off work, he'll come over here for dinner, then he'll head home. Well, I mean, he'll eat dinner, rest up a bit here first, and then he'll go home, right? He is my sister's husband, after all. Whoops. Turn off that 3D. This is a song I completely forgot to use on one of these times. I kept on trying to remember, like, right, that's a song that you could use, and then I never remembered to play it. I only have one shiny to mention I got, and that was a shiny Murkrow in Pokemon Go yesterday. Today, I have 3 things to talk about. One of them bigger than the other 2, but we'll talk about all of them in due time. First, I gotta text that certain jackass that I have a certain From episode I will be talking about today. So I wanted to do this yesterday night. I was even debating, like, okay, instead of the 7 boxes, what if I do the 6 tonight, like yesterday night? What if last night, instead of doing the 7 boxes, I do 6? So I was really debating to even do this yesterday night, but then I couldn't. Last night, I had guests over for dinner. We had hot pot. By the time they left, well, I could have done the 6 boxes, but then I had to clean up, and then I had to do the dishes as well. So it's like, man, I just didn't have a chance to last night. Remember one of my dad's friends' mom just came back over here, by the looks of it, permanently. Like, indefinitely. 2 years ago, she moved back to Hong Kong. I'm not too sure why. I think it's to be with her husband. I'm not sure. I don't know how long she lived here in Canada before that. 2 years ago, she moved back to Hong Kong. And a couple days ago, like last week, she came back to Canada, seemingly permanently, for now. She came back primarily because her son is about to have his second child. So she's going to be here to help out with the second grandkid. With her second grandkid to, make things a little bit easier. So yeah, she came back after 2 years of not seeing her. So of course we want to celebrate her return. Have a nice dinner. Of course we had to wait a couple days for the jet lag to slightly wear off first. So that happened last night. We had dinner. Hot pot. Lots of food. It's fun. Also, I found out that Queso was nominated as Creator of the Year for the Streamer... What? For the Game of the Year award. What did I just say? Wait, that's not what that... That's not... That... Let me try that again. Queso has been nominated for Content Creator of the Year for the Game Awards. There we go. That's how... There you go. That's how to say it. So, we know what to do. No offense to all the other nominees. I don't know who they are. I only know Queso. Damn, Queso moving up in the world. Nominated as the Content Creator of the Year. I'm in a drive-thru at Burger King. Can I please get a Whopper Jr. with onion rings? Yo, that song is bussin'. Okay, maybe that's not the right word. That shit's fire. Anyways, we know what to do. Let's get Queso that victory. Alright, so we got 3 things to talk about today. First up was Superman and Lois, Season 4, Episode 8. And then it's from Episode 7. And then earlier today, I watched Transformers 1. So I have all 3 of those to talk about today. Last night, I was going to watch Superman and Lois. Like yesterday, during the day, I remembered that Superman and Lois would be on that night. So yesterday night. And then the dinner happened. The guest came over. I was texted by someone who was going to watch the episode later on. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's right. Oops. Superman and Lois. Yeah, that's on tonight. Whoops. I had guests over for dinner. So, instead, I watched it earlier today. I actually watched the From episode last night. My family are a whole bunch of jerks. Because I don't have... Okay, let me just say that I watch these shows on online. Because I don't have a subscription to a lot of streaming services. Listen, I'm sorry, okay? So, because my sister has a very old laptop that she uses to watch shows anyways. So, I use her laptop to watch shows. Well, God forbid I watch a show at night. Because nighttime is their designated time to watch shows together. So after I cleaned up the table, I did the dishes, I wanted to watch the episode. My sister was like, did you take my laptop? I'm like, yeah, I'm watching a show. She's like, I need it. And then she had the nerve to get mad at me, like, for not wanting to give her back her laptop. Because I was in the middle of a show. And yes, you can make the argument like she did, like it's technically her laptop. But it's like, I was using it, So halfway into the episode, I had to give my sister back her laptop, and I'm a little upset. I was using it, and then I just had to stop abruptly halfway into the episode. I'm like, alright, fine, here you go. Watch it all you want. No anything. It's like, no, it's fine, brother. Use it. You're already using it. It's like, no, nothing like that. It's like, okay, thanks. Get lost now. So I watched the From episode last night. I watched Superman and Lois earlier today, as well as Transformers 1. Actually, after I watched Transformers, I went and took a nap because I had a bit of a headache. I still have a tiny bit of a headache now, but it's not that bad. I don't think I need to pop an Advil before I go to bed tonight. Alright, let's talk about Superman and Lois first. This episode, I actually got something spoiled about this episode before I watched, because, you know, I didn't watch it last night when it aired. Now, I knew this would happen at some point, like, you know, what was coming. It was announced that Tom Cavanaugh would be in an episode. I just kind of forgot. So then I saw a thumbnail that showed Tom Cavanaugh, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He was going to appear in the show. Not as Harrison Wells. So I basically got spoiled that Tom Cavanaugh would show up in the episode, and that's about it. He doesn't play a doppelganger of Harrison Wells. I almost called him Harrison Ford. He doesn't play a variant or a doppelganger of Harrison Wells. Instead, well, actually, I guess technically he does. He plays some guy named Godfrey, which I guess technically is still a doppelganger of Harrison Wells, you know? Because the multiverse, you could look different, but have the same name, or you can have the same name. Wait a second. You can have different names, but look the same, right? Remember, Spider-Man No Way Home. All those Peter Parkers look different, but they're the same person. Or, what about, you know, all the different Flashes? Barry Allen, Barry Allen. Grant Gustin, Ezra Miller, John Wesley Shipp, all of them are Barry Allen, the Flash, but they all look different. In rare cases, very rare cases, your doppelganger doesn't look like you, nor has the same name, but they are still a doppelganger of you. In rare cases. Quickest example I can think of is like Batman and Owlman, but they're not really technically doppelgangers, you know what I mean? Just a spin on the character of the different universe. Whatever. Getting off track. Alright, this episode, couple things major happened. Lex Luthor, we open with Lex Luthor, and he finally shaved that stupid-ass beard. Now that we see him completely bald, yes, I love it. Without that stupid beard, he actually does look like Lex Luthor. At first, with that stinking beard, I kind of just saw a bald Michael Cutlets with a beard. You know, that's kind of what I saw. I barely was able to see the character of Lex Luthor. I just saw Michael Cutlets. Now that he is completely bald, I see Lex Luthor. We had to wait till the borderline end of the season, end of the series, to get a proper looking Lex Luthor. Okay, so, aside from Lex finally shaving that stupid beard, Lois, she's actually going to see the results of her cancer treatment to see if she still has it or not, and it looks like she's in the clear. She's done her treatment, she's able to continue living her life to the fullest. We also see everyone dealing with the aftermath of the big secret being revealed to everyone. The twins are now celebrities. They have paparazzi following them. Candace, now that, it's known that she's dating a Kryptonian, I suppose, she gets harassed. She gets creepy friend requests. It's like, well, she tries to break up with John, but then it's like, yeah, they get back together. John Henry Irons, excuse me. John Henry Irons and Natalie, they saved this guy from a car accident, but it's like, I could already tell. Clearly, they would not do that random moment for no reason in the episode. But then again, this show, they have done that. Not exactly save someone who would come back in. It's like, do a completely unnecessary save sequence that is just awesome to watch. Doesn't really serve much to the plot, it's just awesome to watch. Scenes like Superman saving the submarine, or Superman saving that village from the avalanche. Those didn't really serve much to the plot, but they were just great scenes to watch. Realistically, they wouldn't do those scenes just because of the cost. They have to pay the actors, they have to pay for the special effects to do those scenes. It's like, realistically, it wouldn't make much sense to do those scenes just for really no other purpose in the show besides just an awesome sequence to watch. But they went the extra mile to do it, which is why the show is so underrated. The show doesn't get enough love. So yeah, they saved this random guy from a car accident, and I could instantly tell that's gonna come back in. Lex Luthor went on to the Tom Cavanaugh's Godfrey show to basically call out Lois Lane and challenge her to a debate, which of course Lois can't refuse because her reputation is on the line. Hold on, I gotta reply. So yeah, they have this contingency plan for Superman, because, it only makes sense that Lois would come with Superman, with Clark. So, they have a contingency plan. If Lois pulls out anything that gives her a heads up, a lead on the debate, they will do some sort of sabotage where they pin Superman as the villain. And Lex Luthor being Lex Luthor, he spins all these lies that Lois Lane is this villain who is a liar, who ruined his life, and she knew but just refuses to apologize. Lex Luthor is evil. Something I just think about, like, why don't they just do this? I know these guys are meant to be heroes and Boy Scouts. They don't do any wrong. It's like, can't someone just, like, maybe not him kill Lex directly, but, like, can't someone just, like, fly him up and throw him into space just to get rid of him? Like, can't someone just do that? Or just toss him in the middle of the ocean with zero chance of survival? It's like, can't someone just do that? Get rid of him? Now, no one on the show is evil enough, or, to do that. They're all too good. This isn't the boys we're watching. So I was actually surprised during the debate. Lex pulls up video evidence of the scene in the previous 2 episodes ago, where he tried to have Lana Lang killed, but then Clark angrily calls out Luthor, and then they get into a fist fight. It's like, wow, he recorded that, and then he clearly doctored it. He clearly edited out all the things that Clark said, like, you try to kill my friend and her daughter? False accusations. Clearly cut all that out. She had one piece of evidence to go over all of that, and that was Elizabeth. At that, Superman now has to leave the interview, like, pretty much abruptly disrupt the interview by leaving to help John Henry. Now, we did see trailer footage that Lex Luthor would put on the, the steel suit. And correct me if I'm mistaken, wasn't this steel suit originally LexCorp technology? Remember, John Henry took it for himself, and then, he came to this Earth? So wasn't his steel suit originally a Lexo suit? So to actually see Lex Luthor wear it and then actually fight Superman, oh, I'm ready. I am ready. Kind of sad to see that it's not John Cryer's Lex Luthor to fight Tyler Hoechlin's Superman. It's kind of a shame we never got to see that. What else happened? Well, Natalie's suit is completely destroyed, but the John Henry suit, that's still functional, but under the control of Lex. Other small things that aren't really too much worth mentioning. Lex and Amanda get together. It was that car accident guy who was the hacker. I think his name was Milton. So, it seems like Lex Luthor is turning the entire public against Lois Lane. And I can't help but say that I don't like these storylines. Like, they're good storylines. I just, it frustrates me because, like, it really makes me mad to see the characters in the show like, you are rooting for the wrong person. We, the viewer, know that this person's the villain, and he's clearly manipulating you all, but in story, none of you know that. It's like, to me, it's frustrating. Those storylines where the public turns on the hero because the villain manipulates the public, it's like, I hate those storylines because they're so frustrating. It's like, it hurts to watch. We the viewers know who the hero is and who the villain is, but everyone in the show has it backwards. It's just frustrating to see. I'm trying to think, is there anything else significant to talk about this episode? I was also, I'm a little surprised to see that it does seem like Elizabeth Henstridge really is just going to show up for that one episode she was in. Maybe she'll show up at the very end. I thought she would have a bigger role, like maybe a couple episodes. Nah, she's so far has been in one episode. And I would not be surprised if she just doesn't show back up. I also wouldn't be surprised if she does. Maybe like a final one-time appearance. Well, that friend of mine said he will be here at 10:30 to hear me talk about From, and it's 9:55 right now. I would like to talk about From before talking about Transformers, but like, fine. If I really gotta wait for his ass to get here, then I'll talk about Transformers first. I'm trying to think. There's nothing else about Superman to talk about. Oh, right. No, there is. John Henry ran a couple tests on Clark, and they discovered that Clark is slowly losing his powers because he now has a human heart. And yeah, that does kind of make sense. Kryptonians have a much more prolonged longevity than humans do, right? But now that he has a human heart from an elderly man, at some point that heart will deteriorate like a human heart will. But the rest of the Kryptonian body will not. So now, in the story, Clark's powers are slowly getting weaker, day by day, and at some point, they'll just completely disappear. John Henry said it best. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, maybe not even this decade, but one day Clark will wake up and he will no longer be Superman. I just can't help but think, like, where's Doomsday? He has a perfectly good Kryptonian heart you can use. And I'm just still thinking, like, if they don't come to realize they could just get a heart from Doomsday, I'm still thinking, like, where is Doomsday? They better answer that. If they end the show, end the series without answering where the hell Doomsday is, that's gonna be frustrating. You know, they took out... Well, not really took out. They removed Doomsday as a threat, but that still doesn't answer what happened to him. Where is he? He kind of just flew off into the distance, never to be seen again. So if we don't find out where he is, that's going to be pretty sad. And then there was also the scene near the end. It basically mirrored the scene that happened in Season 3. You guys remember the scene in Season 3 where Lois had to tell the boys that, you know, she has been diagnosed with cancer? Well, they mirrored that scene in this episode. The boys walk in, parents are sitting at the table. They need to sit down because they're about to be told some bad news. But this time, instead of Lois telling them, it's Clark. And he tells them that he's slowly losing his powers. Hey, Michael Bishop's acting at this very moment was great. I still don't like the fact that Jonathan was recast, but hey, Jordan Elsass decided to leave the show. Nothing you could do about that. I still wish he stayed on the show, but nothing we can do about it now. You know, I was discussing this stuff with someone online. Like, we were even discussing the previous episode and Jimmy Olsen. And I was telling him, like, why we can never get a proper Jimmy Olsen. He brought up a pretty funny point. If this theory is true... There's no evidence to prove it is, but if it is true that Superman and Lois replaced the old Earth 38, you remember that? How Crisis merged the Supergirl Earth with the rest of the Earth 1 shows, making Earth Prime? Well, something had to replace Earth 38. What if the Earth that replaced Earth 38 was the Superman and Lois show? Well, if that is the case, then that means Crisis turned Jimmy Olsen from a black guy to a white guy. Man, just seeing that pointed out is pretty funny. I mean, it's not impossible. If you guys watch the DC animated universe... Wait, no. The DC animated movie universe, the DC AMU... By the end of that, Flash created another Flashpoint, and then that was the Tomorrowverse. Hey, Iris West clearly wasn't that pigmentation in the previous timeline. Iris West was clearly white before the second Flashpoint, and then the next Flashpoint, she clearly is not white anymore. So, Flashpoint can indeed change a person's entire ethnicity. Thank God. Can you imagine if the live-action CW Flash show did that? Oh my God, the amount of backlash that would get. They did Flashpoint, and then not Candace Patton is playing Iris West. That would have been so funny. So frustrating, but so funny at the same time. Alright, because I gotta wait half an hour for this douchebag to show up, and so I can actually talk about this stinking show. In the meantime, let me talk about Transformers 1. I finally got around to watching it today. You know, there's another film that came out this year I realized I haven't seen yet, and a rather big film. I haven't seen Inside Out 2 yet. I'll watch that at some point. Transformers 1. I was skeptical at first, you know, because this film is completely animated. I've been saying, like, it's not just me who's been saying this. We've wanted a fully Transformers origin story on Cybertron for quite a while. Think back to the very beginning, the opening sequence to the Bumblebee film. It's like, damn, I wish we got this film in live action. You know, like when this film was first announced, it's like, ooh, an origin story for Optimus Prime and Megatron as Orion Pax and D16. Oh, but it's animated. I really wish it was live action, though that would have been pretty expensive to do. You know, all CGI. So I was skeptical at first about this film being animated. But I have to say, now that watching it, the animation is superb. The animation is quite a spectacle to watch. Especially because these guys are, you know, machines, robots. These guys are shiny. Like, it's really cool to see. So I really like this film. Although, I will admit, there are a few problems. The biggest problem for me watching the film was the pacing. The pacing was kind of pretty fast. Whoops. Like, Act 1 of the film, you have the Icon 5000 rays. Act 2 of the film, you have them going to the surface of the planet and then discovering the truth. And then Act 3 is, you know, their origin story, their big fights. And it's like, wow, the pacing was just like rapid pace, really fast. One thing I found kind of just like questionable was the transformation, no pun intended, of D16. Like, his mindset completely changing that quickly. It's like, probably could have spent a little more time with that, because, you know, he just, like, out of nowhere goes 180 and completely changes. It kind of went against the character who we met at first. Like, to see him go down this, you know, dark road so fast. Because this film should take place in one day. In an entire day, if not 2 days. Maybe 2 days. Because in the film, he does say, I found out today that Sentinel Prime is rotten, or whatever he says. And then he said, I will make him pay today. So it's like, this whole film takes place in like one single day. So for him to go from who we saw at the beginning of the film to who we saw at the end in a single day, it's like, oh my god. You probably could have fleshed that out a little bit more instead of having him completely change character abruptly, suddenly. Then again, I don't know what the day and night cycle of Cybertron is. Maybe one day on Cybertron's like 50 hours, 100 hours instead of all 24. I don't know. I'm not too sure how time works on Cybertron. But anyways, let's see. This film... I also saw a couple memes online about this film, because, you know, these two are mine bots. They're miners. They mine the planet for Energon. I saw a lot of memes online. I saw one meme in particular on Instagram. It's like, celebrities in 2024. And then it just showed a clip of Darkwing going, miners! I just thought that was so funny. And, yeah, that really is celebrities in 2024. They're all just like, miners! Right? Anyways. Now, I'm trying to remember the names of a lot of characters. While I do love Transformers, I'm not the most informed about them. I know the most surface level, like, big characters. When it comes to, like, a lot of the more secondary characters, I don't know a lot of them. So yeah, these two are miners mining the planet for Energon. We start off with Orion Pax in like an archive library trying to find any records on the location of the what was it called again? Matrix of Leadership, that's it. Trying to find a Matrix of Leadership because I was lost ages ago. Because without the Matrix of Leadership, the planet's flow of energy has stopped. Thus, they need to mine for Energon. Energon is kind of like their fuel, their food. It's confusing. At the end of the film, you see it flow like water, but then they're mining it out of rocks. And they're mining solid chunks out of rocks. It's like, is it a liquid or is it a solid? And I don't think it's the case of, like, you know, ice, where it changes states of matter depending on the temperature. Though it could be, I don't know. I need a drink, hold on. Man, from the very first moment Sentinel Prime appeared on screen, I didn't trust him one bit. I did not trust him one bit from the moment he first showed up on screen. And has Sentinel Prime always been blue? Because he looks so weird to me, because I don't recognize that as Sentinel Prime. Let me see. Is he normally blue? I guess I'm just more used to the red version I saw in the movie. Because it really threw me off the way he looked. You know, with the golden angel wings as well. Yeah, I'm seeing some iterations that he's blue, though I'm also seeing mostly the movie iteration that he's red. I also liked quite a bit how in some scenes of the movie, these Transformers look more like Gundams. You know, especially at the end of the film when Sentinel, he had his face mask on and he was fighting. He really looked like a Gundam. Sentinel Prime also looked a lot better with his face mask on. Because then he actually looked like a Prime. Okay, we've been listening to this for like 40 minutes. Let's change the song. Whoops. So, Sentinel Prime has come back from his supposed excavation of the surface of the planet to try to find the Matrix of Leadership. Oh no, once again, we couldn't find it. But this calls for celebration. How about a race? So he, sets up this Icon 5000 race, which is basically just like a race throughout the city, Grand Prix style. And then Orion Pax has the bright idea, like, if we could win that race, then, we could prove to everyone that we have so much more potential than just mining. Us miner bots to have much more potential. So, he D16 is kind of against it. Next day, they want to watch the race. Orion Pax sneaks D16 into a great view, which is actually like the starting line, the digital starting line, but then he tricks D16 into actually being in the race. So they race. It comes close. They're about to win, but then, they get beat. They could get second place, and then everyone just goes past them. They get like last place. Well, they are actually praised by Sentinel Prime for this, and then Sentinel Prime is about to like promote these two, but then Darkwing shows up and then demotes them down to like Sector 50, where B127 is at. And I gotta say, like, maybe I just don't know Bumblebee before he becomes Bumblebee, but it's like, god damn, he's annoying. While down there, they find a hint on where the Matrix of Leadership could be, so they sneak out, they go to the surface. Well, they actually ride a train to the surface. A train that is meant to just carry cargo or carry quote-unquote toxic waste to the surface. Also, Alita 1 is there. So the four of them, they end up on the surface. And, wow, talk about a lot happening in one day. Because, this film should take place in a single day. They managed to go across, like, who knows how far of a distance on the planet's surface to get to the cave where, the location should be at. While exploring, they also come across a quintessence ship scanning the area. They didn't really actually, follow through with the storyline. They kind of didn't just answer the storyline. So there was a war between the Cybertonians and the Quintessence. That wiped out the Primes, like, 50 cycles ago, I think they said? I assume that means 50 years ago. So it's like, the Quintessence really don't have really much of a major role in this film. They never had a resolution. Anyway, so they find the cave where all of the Primes are at. All of the dead Primes. I am talking about Transformers first. I'll talk about From afterwards. Well, I'm trying to remember. Who did they wake up? Did they wake up Alpha Trion, or who did they wake up? And wasn't he voiced by Lawrence Fishburne? See, I'm getting the Transformers characters confused. Yeah, Alpha Trion. There were also other primes there, like Zeta Prime, Mega... What was his name again? How do I pronounce that? Megatronius Prime? Like, a lot of other primes were there as well, but they're all dead. I find it pretty funny. It's like... I can totally see... Pitch Meeting do this. Like, oh, they find the dead body of Alpha Trion. must be going to be a pretty big problem to try to get him back awake, back alive. Nope, it's going to be very simple. Barely an inconvenience. Because all they did was they just put one block of Energon into his mouth, and then he suddenly just powers back on fully, completely. It's like, that's it? One little piece of Energon, and that's it? Hold on, I gotta reply to this text. So they wake up Alpha Trion and they learn the truth. Sentinel Prime betrayed all the Primes. He wanted to live like a king himself. So he betrayed the Primes, made a deal with the Quintessence to give them Energon so that, you know, he can be the only Prime left. So he is basically in charge. He kind of made kind of like a deal with them, like, okay, we give you our Energon, you leave us alone, you don't take over the planet, and I'm in charge, right? So this royally pisses off everyone, especially Megatron. Or rather, D16. So, you know, they try to go back to Icon City, expose Sentinel. On the way, they get ambushed by, what were their names again? Like, what was that group called again? Well, whatever. They get ambushed and brought to the hideout of certain characters. Here they meet Starscream. Why am I blanking on the name? Shockwave. Another Wave. What was his name again? Shit. Shockwave. There was another Wave. God damn it, what was his name? Soundwave, that's it. They meet Starscream, Soundwave, and Shockwave. They even had a comment in the film. Like, so many waves in people's names. Starscream, voiced by Steve Buscemi. Why is that so perfect? And I can't help but feel bad for Starscream. Starscream is the leader of this little colony of characters. But then out comes D16 out of nowhere, just humiliating Starscream on the spot and then basically taking his position of leadership. It's like, damn, poor Starscream. And we also got the origin to why Starscream speaks so funny. It's because his voice is kind of broken because of D16. I also love that the subtle little detail of when D16 was about to rally his troops, his eyes go a little bit darker. I think at the beginning they were kind of like yellowish, and then they go a little darker to almost orangish, and then at the very end it goes red, like Decepticons have. I'm not gonna lie, I never even heard of the character Megatronus Prime before this film. I don't know too much about the Transformers origin story. I find it completely interesting to find out that Megatronus Prime's head is the symbol for the Decepticons. It's like, I don't know how he would feel about that if he found out that his face was literally the emblem for Decepticons. Well, other things happen. Sentinel killed Alpha Trion. And then he sends... What was her name? Arachnid? It was Arachnid, but with air. A-I-R, so Arachnid. Oh yeah, they also get their plugs. What was it called again? Their bolts. not plugs. They get their bolts, which basically allows them to transform. You know, I kind of thought, like, before watching this film, I simply thought that all Transformers, when born, just instantly had the ability to transform. And then when I saw the trailers, I'm just like, that's not the case. They have to earn the ability to be able to transform later on. And then we find out that Sentinel Prime actually stole all their abilities to transform when they were born, so that, you know, they could not be able to do that, so they could mine, so that they could be miners, to get Sentinel Energon to give to the Quintessence. Pretty evil behavior. So they get the ability to transform because they now all have they now all have bolts. And I really love this this wise line that Orion Orion, that Alpha Trion gave to Orion Pax. It's like something like, it's not the bolt in a transformer that makes one strong or whatever, it's the spark. And we all know what sparks are for transformers. And then I love that later on in the film, the very wise Orion Pax, now Optimus Prime, basically said the same thing to try to motivate and inspire all of his followers. Well, we also learn that... Excuse me. We also learned that when Sentinel first killed Megatronus Prime, he actually took his bolt, which, is an evil pink color as opposed to the good blue coloring. So that royally pisses off D16, who, you know, Megatronus Prime was his hero. And then he actually engraved the Decepticon logo into his chest. It's like, he felt that? He felt that as painful? Well, I guess it's not impossible that these machines have, like, feeling receptors built in. Anyway, so they fight. I also couldn't help but notice the lack of quote-unquote gore in this film. You know, they're robots. They don't exactly have blood. But yet they couldn't really show them being, like, shot in the face or torn apart. Let me think what happened. There was this one line where Orion Pax and Elita 1 were together. They were separated from B and D16. Elita was trying to give Orion Pax a very uplifting pep talk, and she said that Orion Pax had a lot of optimism. And I just couldn't help but think, like, is that the inspiration for where Optimus came from in the name? Because it makes sense where the name Prime came from, where the Prime part of the name came from, but where did Optimus come from? I guess it's because of all of Orion Pax's optimism that he got the name Optimus. And it's no surprise where D16 got the name Megatron from his hero, Megatronus Prime. Anyways, blah blah blah, let's just move on to the end of the film. So at the end of the film, where D16 is absolutely beating the shit out of out of Sentinel, ready to kill him, ready to blast him in the face and kill him, Orion Pax stops him. He accidentally shoots Orion Pax completely destroying his arm. Orion Pax is about to fall off an edge. Megatron, or D16, grabs his arm, but then his eyes change to red and lets him go. And I'm just thinking, like, in the middle of the city, you just have a random hole that falls to the literal center of the planet? And how lucky Orion Pax fell and wasn't caught on anything. He fell straight down to the planet's core. I'm just thinking, like, there's a hole in the middle of the city where you just fall straight to the literal core of the planet? Ugh, whatever. He falls, and then you see sequences back and forth between Orion Pax and D16. Both of them, both of their alter egos, or both of their new identities, were born at the exact same time. You see D16 tear Sentinel Prime in half. You see his, like, internal wirings as, like, his guts. But it was very close up, so you can barely see it. Again, with this film not able to show quote-unquote gore. So, he kills Sentinel Prime, taking out his bolt for himself. At the same time, Orion Pax fell to the center of the literal planet and was bestowed the Matrix of Leadership by all the past primes, as well as, what was the name again? Primus, that's it. My god, there's a lot of names to remember. He was entrusted by Primus to have the Matrix of Leadership. So at the exact same time, not only was Megatron born, but so was Optimus Prime. Well, Optimus Prime was given his name, or rather, Orion Pax was given the name Optimus Prime. Where did D16 get Megatron from? He just randomly screamed out, "I am Megatron!" Obviously, you know, he's been inspired by Megatronus Prime to have the name Megatron. But it's like, you just come up with that yourself? So then we get this pretty awesome fight between Optimus and Megatron. Both of them embracing their new identities. Optimus now being the new leader, he has to banish Megatron from Icon City. And then, you know, we get teases of what's coming next. Megatron's like, this isn't over, Prime. Now, I couldn't help but notice that throughout this film, there were sequences that kind of looked like Transformers Prime. You know, the old animated show. And I come to find out that some of the music from that show was used in this film. I didn't watch that show, so I didn't pick up on what songs were used from that show. So yeah. So at the end of the film, we see Optimus Prime gather all of the miners, give them all the ability to transform, bring back and restore Energon to the planet. And then they all charge, or rather roll out as the Autobots. The post-credit scene, we see, you know, the formation of the group known as the Decepticons. They're all branded by the Decepticon logo. You know, Megatron's like, no longer will we fall or listen to his deception, for we are the Decepticons. And, you know, by the end of the film, I'm just thinking, like, wait, what about the storyline with the Quintessence? All we saw of them in the film was that Sentinel Prime kneeled to them and had a deal to give them their Energon. Well, Sentinel's dead now. Like, what happened to that story? What happened to the Quintessence that are on the surface of the planet? What happened to that? We just don't find out. I really hope that this film not only gets a sequel, but gets a trilogy. Literally just called Transformers 2 and Transformers 3. You know, maybe... Now, I don't know the entire Transformers origin story, like I said. Obviously, we know the storyline that's going to happen after this, which is the Cybertronian War. Autobots versus Decepticons. We know that the whole planet is engulfed in a war. But, what if instead, for Transformers 2... we get a storyline where they have to work together to fight the Quintessence, and then the third film would be that Cybertronian War, which leads up to, you know, them heading to Earth. But yeah, pretty good film. Although, you know, a couple of pacing issues. Pretty good film. Animation was clean, very good. Voice acting was really good, especially Brian Tyree Henry as D16. He absolutely destroyed this role. I was a little skeptical on Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax, like, but Peter Cullen. But he does work as a young Orion Pax. You know, it's just kind of strange to hear Chris Hemsworth's voice without the accent. There were times where I was completely just in the zone watching the film, and I'm just like, yeah, I can hear this being Optimus Prime's voice, but then at the same time, it's like, oh, wait a second. Now I hear moments where it's just Chris Hemsworth. Scarlett Johansson as Alita 1 was kind of off-putting at first. You know, it's like, wow, that's not the voice I'm used to for her. It sounds very much just like Scarlett Johansson. Keegan-Michael Key as B-127 is like not that big a deal, you know. Bumblebee really hasn't had too much of a voice to associate with, right? Well, this guy said BRB, so I need to wait for his ass to show back up before I talk about From. So let me talk about the Minecraft trailer that came out. So this trailer looks much better than the first trailer. It shows Steve's origin, or a little bit of an origin, how he actually came from the real world. So he's not, you know, a block character in this iteration. And I also found out that a lot of the Minecraft, like, trees and whatever, are actually, like, practical. They actually built a set. Obviously, the background is CGI and green screen, but a lot of the stuff, like trees and stuff, they're actually practical effects, which I find pretty cool that they actually put in the effort to build. And, you know, the actors aren't just all standing in front of a green screen for the entire duration of filming for the movie. And I'll talk about more, you know, practical effects in a moment when it comes to From. Technology. We also saw what the live action, what a couple of live action characters will look like a bee, like a zombie, like a skeleton. Cursed. That's what they look like. Cursed. I mean, I'll watch it, right? I'll give the movie a shot. It's coming out April 4th, so that's like 5 months from now. yeah, I'm still just... I still just can't take this movie seriously. It's Jack Black as Steve, I just don't see it. And, you know, throughout the trailer, there were a lot of moments hearing Jack Black's voice. I'm just like, is that Poe? Is that Kung Fu Panda speaking? You know how you just have some actors who voice characters to the point you just can't differentiate? You hear the actor's voice, you just hear the character's voice. Yeah. Jack Black for Poe is one of those cases. I just cannot hear Jack Black's voice without thinking about Poe. They should have gotten some... What? They should have gotten Seth Bling to voice Steve? Who's Seth? Who's that again? Hold on, let me look that up. Oh, it's actually one word. Seth Bling. Or at least get Element Animation to do Villagers. I wonder if the villagers are going to speak in the film. Come on, where's this guy at? I want to talk about this episode. You know, I just keep on teasing this guy. Pause. I just keep on bringing up the fact that he quit the shows I suggested to him. And yet here I am, thoroughly watching through the show that he suggested to me. Before starting the episode, I told him, episode 7 better be excellent or I'm quitting the show. He replied, just wait for episode 10. I'm just like, no. And I'm just like, how about you just wait until season 5 of Arrow? Or season 5 of The Walking Dead, He was just like, alright, watch episode 7 and we discuss on what happened. Wait, no. Wait, not that one. So he literally texted me, watch episode 7 and we discuss. And I just replied to him like how we discussed Arrowverse moments that you watched without skipping or quitting? What did he get you to watch again? The show is literally just called From. F-R-O-M. That's it. It's just called From. Jesus Christ. I need to pour myself some more water. Alright, let's talk about this goddamn episode. Episode 7 of From Season 1. And I can't believe I'm saying this, finally, a good fucking episode. Like, genuinely, a good fucking episode. It only took 7, you know, I only had to watch 7 episodes to watch one that was good. Out of 10 episodes in the season. So I finally watched a good episode of From, but with flaws. And my god, does this episode have flaws. A lot of flaws that really make me angry. Whoops, not that egg, wrong egg. You won't see that for another 2 seasons. Oh my god. This episode, while this episode, out of all the episodes I've seen so far, was the best, the best episode I've seen yet. I will also say, that this episode does have a lot of flaws. A lot of issues. First and foremost, the pacing for this episode sucked. The pacing was pretty bad for this episode. Half the episode was extremely slow build-up. Well, actually, I say half. Because there were just so many storylines shoveled into this episode. And a lot of them barely contribute to the episode. The main thing that happens in this episode is they're throwing Fatima a party. And then, disaster happens in that party. So that's the main storyline. You have a lot of other storylines that don't really matter to the episode. You have storylines like Jim and Tabitha digging deeper. You have a storyline of Jade and Kenny finding a picture of a young Victor. And then you have, well, those two are barely important to the episode. You have one that's a little bit more important, and that's Father, what was his name? Father Kinley? What was his name? The priest guy. I still don't even know his name. Let's see, what was his name? Where the hell is he on the cast list? What's his name? Why can't I find his name? No, it's not Father Kinley. Father Cattree, whatever. You're right. He ain't important. Oh, you're right about that. Whatever. Father Cattree, that's his name. So we have the storyline where Father Cattree goes and talks to Sheriff Boyd about the stuff that happened in the previous episode with Sarah and the voices. And, the build-up to this episode was, like, finally... Oh, an episode taking place at night? Finally? So, finally, fucking finally, 7 episodes into a 10-episode season, there's finally an episode taking place at night. So, Father Cattree is telling Sheriff Boyd, like, alright, here's a bag that I buried the day I got here. Open it, there's all this stuff. And then he tells a story about why he has a bloody shirt in there. And then they get discussing. So after he tells that, Sheriff Boyd tells him his plan off screen. So we don't get any reaction to... We don't get the father's reaction to him, like, are you stupid for trying to get yourself killed? Walking out there by yourself, trying to find a way to escape? At this point, it's like, why even bother? So, he tells the priest his plan off screen, so we get no reactions. But instead, we get a scene where Jim and Tabitha not only keep on digging, but then they also get almost intimate. I swear, you see that scene of Jim massaging Tabitha's back and then kissing her neck. You close your eyes and you listen to that scene. It almost sounds like you're watching something else. Anyways, whatever, fuck all that. The biggest story in this episode is the party. The party at the Colony House. They're throwing a party for Fatima because this is the 1-year anniversary since she got here. Julie makes a good point. It's like, why celebrate you getting stuck here for a year? Fatima's like, look at it like celebrating surviving. So, immediately watching the episode, I instantly recognized the trope they're going for. It was so obvious. The previous episode, we saw that horny-ass douchebag idiot. It turns out his name is Kevin. We learn his name is Kevin in this episode. Not that that matters. He died right away. You know, this horny-ass simp is talking to one of the monsters outside. And, you know, it's a party, you know, the calm before the storm, right? Everyone's happy, everyone's distracted. That's what I thought. I thought because everyone's happy and distracted that he would have, you know, nobody watching him, nobody to stop him from opening the window like an absolute idiot and letting one of those monsters in. At least that's what I thought. No, nobody kept an eye on him regardless. He just locked himself in a bathroom and just started talking to the monster outside. And I said the same thing last time. Bro, you cannot be that stupid. Come on. Like I said before, the most recent people to show up in the town were the Matthews family and Jade. So you've been here longer than them. You've been here for a while. You know how things work. And you still have the audacity to do something so stupid as opening the goddamn window. Man, this idiot also actually falls for her lies. He opened the window and this monster uses all the tactics to try to lure him in, or rather, you know what I mean. She says stuff like, I came here to say goodbye. I don't want to come here and see you all the time if I don't get to actually touch you. Do you not really like me because you don't let me inside? I'm sorry, but I don't want to be with someone who doesn't really truly like me. This is goodbye. No, wait. I'll open the window for you, motherfucker. You know what the sad part is, though? Think about this for a moment. Think about this for just a moment. Imagine an apocalypse like this really happens. You know, analog horror mimic style. I only hatched one egg there. Where you can't tell who's human and who's trying to kill you. You let them in and they will devour you. So imagine an apocalypse actually happens like that. So, your friends and loved ones, your friends and family are pounding at your front door like, please let us in. I'm sorry, even if you is human, even if you are the person I know, yo ass staying out there. I will not open that door for anyone. Like, my best friend pounding at the door being like, please man, I've known you for like 20 years, open the door, let me in. If that's actually him, it's like, I'm sorry man, you know how the rules of the apocalypse are. I cannot let you in. My sister pounding at the door. Brother, let me in. Nope. I'm sorry. I can't let you in. We're all dead if I do that. We're all dead if I open that door. Oh, and this idiot has the nerve to open the window for one of the monsters he knows will kill him. Like, I also have to say, watching this episode, I actually had to pause to process the amount of cringe and anger I had in myself from what I was watching. Now, the last time I did that was watching the second half of the first season of Sword Art Online. Very rarely do I watch something and I need to pause it to process what I was watching. So yeah, it was a very obvious trope I recognized instantly. A big party, everyone's happy, you know, the calm before the storm. So this dimwit, I really wish I could use a particular word starting with R to call this guy. Now, we all know how the internet is. They get butthurt on the most smallest of things. So I will not be saying it. Even though I don't think people really care anymore. People like Asmongold, people like sensitive society, they say the word, but it's like they don't get canceled for it, right? And I don't have a big enough following to be canceled anyways. But I'm still not going to say the word just because internet's the internet. But just know, I would really like to describe this moron with a word beginning with R. Okay, so, yeah, there was also a lot of teases in this episode about a particular death, who I called almost instantly. Remember a couple episodes ago when Julie woke up and there was this girl who claims, like, we share everything, that's why I took your clothes and I'm wearing them now. Her name was Trudy. I didn't even remember her name. So, she was actually in the recap of the beginning of the episode. And then just before the party started, Fatima's like, this is my favorite shirt. I keep it here so that Trudy doesn't get her hands on it. Oh my god, they made it so obvious they were going to kill this character off. So obvious. Anyways, so just wanted to mention that. Back to this moron's death. I was bitterly disappointed with the direction this episode was heading. Or rather, the visuals. So yes, this moron fell for it. He let the monster in and he's making out with it. His back got clawed at. And he was bleeding from the mouth because he got torn up in the mouth. Or rather, his lip was bit off. I don't know. And then he dies, obviously. What I was hoping to see was the party get disrupted because you hear this guy screaming in pain as he's dying. Nothing at all. Not anything at all like that. There's a person screaming to death, dying over there, and nobody cares. Because he doesn't even scream. The part that pissed me off the most about this episode was the body. Remember when we saw Kenny's dad's dead body? That body was destroyed. The torso, half of it was missing. And then this episode, Kevin's dead body, nothing happened. The makeup people, they just threw some fake blood on him and that's it. No body parts were missing, nothing was completely wrangled around, nothing. Absolutely nothing. He was just lying there with blood on his body and nothing else. No body parts were missing, nothing was completely ripped apart. And that still does not answer the question of what these monsters even do. Do they eat them? Do they kill them for fun? This just even further unanswers that. Because we saw beforehand dead bodies be torn apart. We saw at the beginning of the show, the very first episode, the little girl and mom, their entire chest cavities emptied out. We saw the father, the body was in pieces inside the box. We saw Kenny's dad missing half his goddamn torso. This episode, nothing. The dead bodies had no injuries on them. Oh, it is so frustrating. It is so painful to watch this show. So, the body had no damage on it, besides there being blood on the outside, from no visible wounds I was able to see. But anyways, aside from that stupid writing, so we see this monster in front of a window, in front of a mirror, actually very elegantly washing her hands and trying to clean herself up. It's like, wow, okay. And then, to my surprise, this monster actually opens the window and allows more in. So it's like, okay, something's happening now. More are getting in. How are they going to get away from this? They can't stay inside because they're inside. They can't go outside because they literally come from the outside. What can they do? They go outside. They just leave. Before I talk about that part, so whoever the actor was you were saying who was built for this role with a ginormous smile on his face. So yeah, they're shocked to see that these things got inside. There's panic. They're running for their lives. Wait a second, no, actually, before that. Wait, that's not how things happened. Before that happened, we got the scene between Fatima and Trudy. You know, Trudy's all sad that she doesn't have access to everything and everyone's belongings. She's sad that she's not able to wear Fatima's shirt. And then Fatima's like, here you go. I'll let you wear my shirt. She's like, really? Oh, thanks. I'm gonna go get something special for you. It's like, she's dead. She's going to die. It's so obvious! I actually thought they were going to do something different, but at the end of the day, it resulted in the same thing. That was Fatima's favorite shirt, and she gave it to Trudy. I kind of thought, you know, while Trudy would die, it would be ruined by being soaked in blood. No, that's not exactly how it played out. I mean, that was the case, but that's not the focus. Whoopsies. So, Trudy was actually going to get her that pillow, her favorite pillow, to, you know, be like, thank you for giving me your shirt. Here, take my pillow. Then she walks past this door, this open room where the monsters are fully inside. She gets lured in by laughter. She's like, what's so funny? She gets closed in with like 4 of them in there. And then the camera goes down as she's being killed up top, and we don't see it. We see blood fall on the pillow, so ruining the pillow. Trudy dies, which I saw coming so long ago. Trudy dies. Sadly, we did not see it! You know what? At this point, I've basically just accepted that's not what this show is. There's just not going to be any on-screen deaths like that. I've just accepted that's going to be the case. We're just not going to see what the monsters do to the victims. That's just not what the show is. That's basically what I've accepted at this point. So, we don't see what the monsters do to actually kill her. And I question even more what they did. Because later on, we saw Trudy's body. Same thing. Nothing torn apart. Absolutely no damage to the body. Her face was all intact. So I'm thinking, was her neck bitten? Was her neck ripped apart? No. Her neck looked perfectly fine, just with blood covering it. It's like, oh, I am so mad at this show. I am so very mad at this show. You know, when I was watching this episode, I was thinking, like, okay, are they really going to actually spend some of their budget on this episode that they've been saving the whole season? Because this entire season up to this episode ain't shit happen. Absolutely nothing happened that would warrant a huge budget. So I was thinking, this episode, finally something's happening. Were they saving their budget for this? No. No, they weren't. No, they absolutely weren't. Anyways, yeah. They can't go in, they can't go out. Where do they go? They leave. They leave. They have a protocol. You get in the trucks or the vans and you drive over to the town. Little small storyline like Fatima kissing this other chick, and then Julie, she's kind of jealous, so she wants to make out with her as well. She gets embarrassed when she asks, "Can I kiss you too?" And then she goes up to Victor's room. And then when the attack happens, they tightrope down the house. And then instead of running to what they assume would be safety, Victor's like, "You have to trust me. We have to run towards the trees." So we have to go to the trees where, teleport you to a different place. Well, Ellis, Sheriff Boyd's son, he actually escaped, through a narrow hair. He actually managed to escape. So then, he and Fatima actually get trapped. But they're saved by the stinking MacGuffin, talisman. They're locked between two sets of doors, and the talisman actually keeps them out. My, how lucky of them. If Sheriff Boyd hadn't discovered those talismans beforehand, they would have been screwed. So it just really raises the question, what did people do before the discovery of the talismans? And that also brings up the question too, they gotta survive there until morning. What about the monsters inside the house? I'm just gonna assume by the time the sun comes up, they're gonna jump out the windows. The monsters are just gonna jump out the windows. Anyway, so following up to the secondary plot of the episode. So Father Cautry reveals, pretty poorly, that Sarah's tied up in the basement of the church. Sheriff Boyd, realistically, understandably, pulls a gun on him. So, once again, more off-screen dialogue. He's told everything about the voices, about Sarah, about, okay, the three of us go with you into your little, suicide mission here. Going into the forest with the talisman to see how far you can go. The three of us do it. The sheriff, the father, and Sarah. And then the van full of survivors come up. They have to hurry up and rush everyone in. The monsters are approaching. For some stupid reason, the father just stands there, watching the monsters, talk to them, "Hey, you folks okay over there? You need some help?" He turns around, and then he gets clawed by another monster. And then he dies. I'm not going to lie, okay? I'll give this episode that, at least. That was a shocking death. Unlike Trudy, there was no build-up for this character dying. So that was a shocking death. It was just pretty stupid of him to just stand there and let that happen, but okay. So I'm not gonna lie, that was a pretty shocking death. And remember what I said before when Victor dug up those graves? That basically just told you, deaths are coming. While this was the best episode yet, there were still so many problems with it. The pacing was not that great. The actions of what happened in this episode just raises even more questions. It actually takes away from any potential answers we've gotten before, which is very little. It actually unanswered what the monsters do. Do they eat? Do they hunt? Do they kill for fun? It actually managed to unanswer that question. Man, I was so mad. I was so furious when I saw those bodies were not decimated whatsoever. I was so mad at that. You know what else I'm super mad about at this point? The fact that to get me to watch this show, I was told that it is similar to The Walking Dead. At this point, that is an absolute lie. If the only thing you're going to tell me the similarities between these two shows is surviving from monsters, and that's it, from what I've seen so far, there is hardly any similarities between the two shows. I will be even more mad at you when I watch The Boys and I see even less similarities between From and The Boys. I'm starting to think you just don't know what the word similarities mean. Like, you telling me From is similar to The Walking Dead just because they survive from monsters and that's it? It's like... I swear to God, you're telling me now From ain't similar to The Boys? You told me From is similar to The Boys. If you're really trying to pull a fast one on me right now and tell me you never said that, I swear to God, I will quit the show right now. I will no longer watch From. I swear to God. You tell me right now you are saying you never told me The Boys is similar to From, I will quit this goddamn show. I will pull up the chat logs. I swear to God to you, man. No, the fuck, you did not say that. I said I find it more interesting than The Boys. I will pull up the chat logs right fucking now. Do not try to pull a fast one on me. I discussed this here as well. If you were going to tell me the only thing similar between From and The Boys is gore, adult content, and family dynamics, if that was it, you remember me saying that. Anyways, back onto the main topic. From what I've seen, this show is hardly similar at all to The Walking Dead. Hardly similar at all. From what I've seen, you can't really compare the two shows whatsoever. Like, if you're going to tell me they're similar because they have characters surviving, well, you may as well just say this show is similar to Lost. Which turns out the producers of this show also produced that show as well. You know, if you're telling me this show is similar because they are trying to survive, well, there are literally thousands of other shows that this will be quote-unquote similar to. I didn't say it was similar, I said you were wrong. No you. How about that? Anyways, yeah, From is not similar to The Walking Dead. You're saying it's out of shiny. Nope, none of these were shiny. But yeah, I am so mad at this show right now. And to make things worse, so listen to this, people. I saw a behind the scenes video posted to Paramount Canada's account or channel. It actually goes through the behind the scenes of this particular episode. And to my surprise, the monsters are practical. They actually have makeup for the monsters. The monsters are not entirely CGI like I thought. They are actually practical. Now, while I appreciate the practical effects, I really scratch my head and have to ask, why even bother? At this point, why even bother with practical effects? When the monsters you have on your show are on screen for literally 1 fucking second. Whoops. The video stopped. I had to. It's playing an ad. Like, why honestly even bother with the practical effects? Because if the monsters are actually on screen for 1 fucking second, what is the point? Like, is that really worth it? The hours it takes in the makeup chair just for 1 second of footage? At that point, it would probably honestly be cheaper just to do everything CGI instead of practical. Because, like, then again, what do I know, right? I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a film producer. I'm not the financial advisor for, you know, the budget these shows have. Maybe, honest to God, it really was cheaper to do practical and then just touch it up for literally 1 second with CGI. I just can't help but question, why even bother? Honestly, at this point, why bother with the practical effects? I cannot stress this enough. The monsters actually, honest to God, show up on screen for 1 second. 2 seconds if we're lucky. And then, that was practical? Touched up with CGI? Like, what was the point? All those hours in the makeup chair just for seconds of footage. And I say seconds plural sparingly. Oh my god, this show. I cannot with this show. What makes me more and more mad is the fact that I was suggested this show from someone who complained Walking Dead was boring the first episode. That's what makes me so mad. This boring ass show I was suggested. A certain someone complained 5 minutes into the first episode of The Walking Dead that it was boring. You know, the episode that is regarded as one of the best TV pilots in history. Yeah, complained that was boring when the characters were just talking. And then this episode, not even this episode, this show, where from what I've seen, more than 90% of the show so far is nothing but talking. And this dude had the nerve to tell me that my show was boring when he suggested this, which is 10 times more. And don't get me wrong, this episode was by default the best episode yet. Like, honestly, I'm making this episode sound like it's a piece of shit, but it is the best episode yet. Just because nothing happened in the previous ones. So by default, this episode is the best so far. Oh, I am so mad at this show. Like, honestly, I am so mad at this show. Oh, you know what I didn't even mention about the episode? When Julie jumped down that hollow tree, she was transported to what looked like the bottom of that cellar where Jade saw that body crushed by a boulder. That was even in the recap of the episode. Either two things. One, that's where Julie was just randomly teleported to, so she's safe. Or two, and I very much doubt this, I very much doubt this will happen. And if this happens, I will be shocked. Julie went back in time, and we are going to see how that body was crushed by the boulder. If that happens, I will genuinely be shocked at this point. And something else, I've been saying this whole time, why the fuck doesn't Kenny's mom have subtitles anymore? It's like the subtitle workers just gave up. Or were they fired? Right? Like, what happened? Why the hell doesn't she have subtitles anymore? She had it for 3 sentences when she first showed up on screen. And then everything else she's saying, no more subtitles. Because we understand what she said? We? Who's we? What is this we you speak of? Because I hate to hit you with the cold hard fact and the cold hard truth right now, buddy, but not everyone is Chinese like yourself and yours truly, where we actually have the, you know, the plot armor to understand what she's saying. A lot of viewers will have no clue what she's saying, just like Jade. So it's like, if this show is anything, it is not consistent, right? We saw those bodies be completely torn apart previously. Then this episode, they don't have a scratch on them, from what we can see. And then Kenny's mom going from subtitles to none for whatever reason. It's like, what happened to quality control? It's like, really? Come on, people. I am so furious at this show. I honestly am. And would you believe it? This is the best episode yet. And you know, at least I'm glad they didn't ruin the setup they had previously. Remember when I said that they showed this horny ass idiot on the cusp of letting one of those things in? Thank God they didn't ruin that, right? It was so easy to tell a great story with that. Thank God they did not ruin it. Thank God he actually, you know, was stupid enough to follow through, let one in, and then all that chaos happened. Thank God something actually came from that setup. Because if they ruined that, I would be even more pissed. Well, I guess we know what the purposes of the graves are, right? Yo, I'm not gonna lie. If I was Julie, I would move out of that frat house and I would move back in with my parents. One, you're embarrassed now that you asked Fatima to kiss. Two, you now seen proof that you cannot trust living with them. Because someone, well actually they don't know someone let them in. They know that that place isn't secure now, or at least Julie should. Julie should now know that that place isn't secure, isn't safe, so she should live with her parents. Like, if I was Julie, I would get the hell out of that house. Like, is that where the budget of the episode went? Instead of seeing the bodies be decimated, completely ravaged, the budget went to that 1 second of practical effect? Really? Oh. And if you saw the ending of the episode, you know the monster that killed the father, the priest? That was practical. Like, there was the behind the scenes footage of that being practical. It was not even worth it. It happened so fast. You couldn't even tell it was practical. What was the point? I could cry. This episode hurts me so much. The ending really hurts. To know that they spent money on the practical for a split second of footage. Now, before anyone, I swear, before anyone makes this argument, yes, I am aware that TV shows and movies, they film out of order. So they could film something in episode 6 before they film episode 1, right? I know they film things out of order. So you could argue that they did the practical effect for that one scene, and then they shot the practical effect for another scene in another episode. While, yes, that could be the case, then wouldn't that mean the exact same monster did more than one thing? Instead of, one of the many other monsters, right? This one coincidentally did more than one thing. It's like kind of hard to believe, right? Coincidentally, this one monster out of all of them was able to do so much, while all the other ones, the lesser known ones, what were they doing? You know what I would love to see? There's a lot of things I would love to see the show do. It's just they've done 0 of them so far. One thing I would love to see, let's say hypothetically that in a final season of the show, whenever the hell that is, season 4, season 5, season 10, whenever the last season of the show is, wouldn't it be great to see one full dedicated episode following the monsters, seeing where they go after night, where they quote unquote live, what they do during the day? Do they just sleep during the day? Do they cackle and plan out what they're going to do? It's like, I want a full episode following just the monsters. But even if they do that, which is unlikely, that's probably a final season type of episode. So we're not going to get that for quite a while, if even. Yo, hear me out. Episode 8 is going to be a banger. Man, if episode 8 is going to be as much of a banger as episode 7 was, ooh, my blood pressure is going to rise. You're the same person who told me episode 2 would be a banger. I want to know, what were you thinking when you watched these episodes? Did you enjoy them? Like, what was going through your mind when you were watching these episodes? Because while I found the writing very obvious and cringe, what they were setting up, what they were doing, and then I'm pointing out all the inconsistencies and frustrating storytelling moments, what were you thinking? What was your mentality when watching the episodes? Bitch, that's not what I asked you. I told you I watched season 2 episodes, and then I was like, oh shit, this wasn't the first season. That's not what I asked you. I asked you, what were you like when you were watching season 1? Like, when you actually saw the season 1 episodes, what were you thinking? Forget the fact that you knew what was happening in season 2. Like, you saw the events play out in season 1. What was going through your mind? Like, oh shit, I see the setup. I see the vision. I see how amazing this show is. Oh, that was a really great story they just told. Kind of mid, but season 2 and 3 are pretty good. Uh-huh. At this point, I don't trust your word. I can tell you that seasons of my shows are fantastic. Season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 5 of The Walking Dead, and Season 5 of Arrow. I can tell you that all the livelong day, and you wouldn't believe me. And Lord knows you'll never reach those points to actually watch it yourself. Season 3 ain't good according to you? Oh, so that means that you shouldn't watch it just because I kinda deterred you from it? So you shouldn't watch it just to get to, like, good seasons? Is that what you're saying? So I should have skipped all of season 1 and just jumped to season 2. You know, missed out all the context and references, huh? Season 1 already barely has any questions answered. I imagine if I jump straight to season 2 without any context of season 1, I would have quit this episode. I would have quit the show first episode. So what? Just because something's a bad season, you shouldn't watch it? You shouldn't put up with it just to get to better parts of the show afterwards? Is that what you're saying? Season 7 of The Walking Dead wasn't that great, but hey, Season 9 was pretty good. So what, I just completely skip over all of Season 7? Season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't the best. In fact, it was the worst season of the show, but that doesn't mean it was bad. Just out of all seasons, if you had to put one of them last, it would be Season 6. So what, I should just skip over all of Season 6? And what was I supposed to tell you? Season 3 was fantastic when it clearly wasn't? You raise a good point. I don't get the time to watch it though, but I watched the clips. Absolutely bullshit right there. After all the time since you quit the show, you had plenty of time. Nothing, you should have said nothing. Oh, I suppose that would have been better than what you did, telling me From was fantastic, and clearly Season 1 was slow as shit and full of inconsistencies. Clearly you watched it. Yeah, I'm watching it thoroughly, unlike a certain someone here. Brings up the argument. I did watch it though. Yeah, but did you not skip out? Did you not quit the show? Did you not just skim through it? The Boys was hype as hell. I admit I did miss the hype train for The Boys. I will watch it. You know what I won't do though? Skim through it. Skip the boring parts. Only watch the good parts. Man, I'm not gonna lie. From has now set a new low bar. Even if an episode of The Boys is slow and boring, I can now at least think it's not as slow and boring as From. Sure, I may have missed out on the boys hype, but I was there for the Walking Dead hype. Season 4 going into Season 5, you know, with Terminus. That was hype. Oh man, the hype for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when that show was on air. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a very small but loyal fan base. You would not believe the hype that small fan base had week by week, especially Season 4. And then the lead up to Season 5. Oh man, Season 4. Every week when that episode aired, I just could not wait. The story just kept on getting better and better. And then I was so disappointed when there was a month break. I'm just like, no! You left off on such a big story moment. Now you're telling me I have to wait a month before watching the next episode? You know, my friends from college were suggesting a really stupid idea that's just not how TV works. They were just like, man, I hate the breaks between seasons. They should just film the entire show as a whole and release it consistently. Excuse me. That way we don't have to wait months in between seasons. I'm just like, that's not how TV works. They need time to be renewed for a new season. They need time to write, to act, to edit. You know, TV shows don't get like a 10-season budget right on the spot. So they film for like 5 years straight, and then they release the show for the next like 8 years, right? That's not how TV works. And also, the break between seasons builds up hype. Builds up excitement. And you know, following back on what I was saying about the practical effects, I am aware that Walking Dead reuses the same handful of actors to play walkers. So, a lot of times, you don't even notice that the person behind, or the person underneath all those walker makeups have appeared in like hundreds of episodes. Just because they're the same person playing the walkers over and over, but playing different walkers. They changed the makeup to where it's not recognizable. You're not going to see this walker here and that walker there and be able to instantly tell they're the same person playing the walker. Because the makeup is entirely different. It's unrecognizable. So, to tell me that maybe they use that same monster for one thing in one episode and then another thing in another, it's like, well, if you have a keen eye and you can compare the literal 1 second of footage, then maybe you can tell it's the same monster and the same practical effect. But because it happens so fast, any normal average viewer, blink and you'll miss moment, it's like, oh no, a different monster attacked. Anyways, I'm almost done for tonight. I only have 15 eggs left to do tonight. stupid, you know? It's so stupid. The practical effects, stupid. And like I said, I appreciate practical effects whenever they happen, you know? So Hollywood's not all just CGI slop. You know? You appreciate the effort put into the Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics. Those were practical. Those were not CGI. Like, I appreciate the effort put into practical. Look at Penguin, you know? Colin Farrell had to sit in the makeup chair for like 2 to 4 hours just to transform into Oz. You really appreciate that. And guess what? He's the main character. He shows up on your screen 90% of the time. That is an effective use of the money put in for practical effects, practical makeup. Not a second. Not 1 second of footage. You know, I also wonder, Season 2, what new character's possibly going to get introduced? Because you already know that's going to happen. Beginning of Season 2, or at least near the beginning, someone new is going to come to town, someone's going to get trapped there. What's all that going to be about? Because it's a new season. You killed off several characters in the first season, you made space, so you need to introduce a new character in the second season. Just makes sense. Queso gonna be there? Oh, poor Queso. If that's the case, poor Queso. He's gonna win, Content Creator of the Year at the Game Awards, and then he's gonna get trapped there. Nah, just have everyone slowly die off. Believe it or not, that would cause more problems, actually. That would cause more problems than solutions. If everyone in that town died off, well, the next unlucky soul who ends up there, they would have no idea what to do. No idea. They would know nothing about monsters at night. They would know nothing about the talismans. So if everyone died off, or if that's in that case, if everyone managed to leave, right? Well, the next unlucky soul who shows up, they're goners. I think I saw this show was filmed at, like, Nova Scotia. It's interesting. We're seeing fellow Canadian grounds. So, look in the background. Is that a maple tree I spotted? I wonder what they do during the winter, right? Obviously, they don't film in the winter. A lot of shows are in Canada. Yep, majority of the Arrowverse shows are. The Flash was filmed in Vancouver. So it seems like this show is primarily a summer or springtime filming period. Because, there's a lot of green leaves still on trees. Clearly there's no snow on the ground or no changing of leaves, colors. And clearly they don't film in that big of an area either. You know, they film in like this small dinky little town that, you know, it's just a set, right? They built the set of a small little town, and then occasionally they'll film out in the middle of an open field, next to a tree, in the woods. Well, these are the last 5 eggs for tonight. Man, I'm still so mad. Like, the deaths all happen off screen. So, I cannot believe they actually managed to unanswer a question. Do the monsters eat them? Do they kill them for fun? Now there's contradicting evidence. The hollowed out chest cavities imply they're eaten, but these bodies have no damage on them, implying it was killed for sport. Like, unless you're about to tell me the monsters they kill first, and then they will come back and feast later, just because, you know, the house is full of people. The more we kill, the more we can dine on next time, or not next time, but later on. The more victims we have, the more we can truly dig in afterwards. First, let's hunt and kill. Whatever we get is how much we get to eat. But if that's the case, then that's just me making excuses for the show. That's me telling the show's story for them. You won't get that answer for a while? Yippee. You know, they also wrote themselves a way out of potentially, you know, trapping one of the monsters inside and seeing what'll happen during the day. Because they wrote it to where that one monster opened the window and let more in. So if only one got inside, they could maybe devise a plan like, okay, we can trap it in that room and we'll just see what happens during morning. Does it die from sunlight? Is it a vampire or what? No, they wrote it so there's more than one monster inside. They have to run for their lives. You will get an answer to something in episode 8, though. I very much doubt that. And if that is the case, what, you want me to admit I was wrong? To say that you were right, we did get an answer? Well, if that's the case, then that's what will happen. But knowing this show and knowing your glazing of it, I don't trust it. Because when it comes to this show, an actual answer, impossible. Excuse me. Ugh, I just don't talk this much. Alright, let me double check. Because I've been rambling non-stop tonight, I'm just going to double check. Truly, no shinies tonight? Well, no shinies tonight, sadly. We'll have to continue this next time. Next time, more Panpour, more rage towards From. More gas. I'll see you guys next time. Alright. Bye.